Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's early evening where I am. It's 7 o'clock. And today I'm joined by my very special guest, Stewart Swerdlow. And Stewart will be talking about the Montauk Project, mind control, ETs and conspiracies. As most of you will know, Stewart's had a very interesting life. And no further ado, I'm going to say hello to Stewart. Hi, Stewart.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Well, I'm just trying to wake up here on the other side of the pond.
Oh, yeah. What time is it where you are?
Right now it's 2 p.m.
So you're still waking up? That's like me. I'm usually still waking up around about 2 p.m.
Well, I've been up to 2 a.m.
That's like me. You were saying about the ELF bombardment before the show began. And do you think that that's really affecting people's sleeping patterns?
Yes, especially between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. is when the ELF and microwave bombardment are the most intense. And the reason they do that is because they assume that most people are asleep in their time zones at that time, and so that's when they send a lot of the mind control waves down. Right,
so it affects you when you're sleeping, and it affects your dreams, and then when you wake up, obviously, because your dreams do affect you. Mm-hmm. And also, I suppose your mind's more susceptible to mind control when you're asleep.
That's correct, because you're not blocking it, and you're more susceptible to download the information.
Because they say for people that want to learn new languages, play the tape while you're asleep.
That's right. That's right.
I can understand, what that's all about. I'm also noticing, I've been noticing this for years, people have become more zombified.
Yes, and that is why in my lectures and seminars I do teach people how to put protection techniques up, especially when they're going to sleep, so that they can block that incoming bombardment while they're in vulnerable position.
Mm-hmm. Do you know more people die between 3 and 5 a.m. in the morning as well? And I wonder if that has something to do with the ELF. Because I trained as a nurse, and that's one thing that I learned. More people die. They said it was because the oxygen drops at that time. But I'm wondering if that's more to do with the ELF now.
Well, that's a very interesting point, and I would wonder about studies that may have been done, let's say, before the 1950s and 60s to see if that was true then, or if that's something that's more modern that would probably imply the ELF.
That's true. So how did it all start with you, Stewart? Because from what I understand, this all started when you was a child, wasn't it? You was only a kid when you got involved with Montauk. Did you ever see the Montauk chair?
Oh, yes, I have. And I don't think I'd want to have one in my study.
Is it big?
Oh, it's very big. And they had more than one. I know that many of the books out there talk about the chair, but they had quite a few. And of course, there was one of the lead psychics who worked at the Montauk Project, and I think that they refer to that chair he used as the Montauk chair. But again, for the audience, there were many different ones, and unfortunately,
but for different purposes.
Yeah.
All for yeah.
Yeah, but they also had not just chairs, but they also had medical tables and other type of accoutrements that were used also for mind control and programming.
So, what sort of mind control programming was you involved with? Was it sort of like to control your personality? Because in a way, I can understand it. I mean, don't agree with it, but say you wanted to spy, right? And so you sent them out to Russia. You throw that trigger word to this other personality comes in. You send them out to Russia. They go where they've got to go. They get the information they've got to get. Then they come back, and then they forget it all. I can understand the logic behind it because that's protection for the spy. Because the spy in his normal or her normal life wouldn't know what he or she has done, and also they wouldn't remember the information.
Yes, that's kind of a Manchurian Candidate type of scenario. A lot of the work that we did at Montauk did involve what was called hyperspace work, meaning that we could go into other levels of reality without physically leaving the location and actually observe activities and get information from that type of perspective. But going back to what you were describing, they found out long time ago, and especially this was developed or enhanced by the Nazi scientists during World War II, that if you traumatize a human mind severely, it fractures into components. And it can even be defined as a shape, which they said was a cube that went by 13 by 13 by 13 compartments, meaning they could program up to 2,197 pieces within the human mind.
Wow.
Yeah, and not all of them were full personalities. Some of them were partial personalities. Some of them were just for a specific function. There were all sorts of things that they experimented with. And now, in this time period, it's pretty much a known science, and they know exactly what they're doing.
This is where the child abuse comes into it, isn't it? Because they used to get them as children, very young children.
Yeah, they found, of course, that children are the most programmable because, unfortunately, the reason it works is when you are traumatized, you go into a state of fear. And children, of course, have a very heightened sense of fear when they're in trauma, and so they can fracture very easily. They then found out that if you can fracture a fetus in utero, then the child would be born already fragmented.
Gee, so they're even doing it to poor little souls that haven't even been born yet.
Yes, yes, but you know, that's why there's such a huge increase in cesarean births, because they found that that is very traumatic to the fetus, and therefore, just upon entry into the world, there's a fragmentation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all three of my sons have been born through cesarean, and I can understand that. One minute they're lying there in the womb, minding their own business. Next thing, this pair of hands takes them out, and there's this light and sounds, and it must be really traumatic. But I think they're doing this to everyone because we're all being bombarded on every level. Everybody is in the world, aren't we? We're being bombarded psychically, physically, emotionally, through our food, through our water, through all the fear-mongering that's going on. We get through the economy. Everywhere you go, you're being bombarded.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know
Sorry, Stewart. No, you carry on.
Oh, no, they have the whole Earth rung with satellites that just transmit 24/7. And they can target the entire planet or specific locations or even specific people.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if they wanted to target me, they could easily target me, or you, or anybody without affecting anyone else, can't they?
That's correct.
You know, this is why we're getting a lot of people we're getting a lot of scientists that are dying mysteriously, or top people, their kids are dying now mysteriously. Yeah. But I think, again, that's to keep everyone in a state of trauma, and it's also a distraction thing, you know, because I think a couple of our celebrities over here have lost children in the last couple of days. But so, of course, all the while you're talking about them, you're not thinking about other things that are going on. What do you think about this bird swine flu fiasco at the moment, Stewart?
Yes, well, you know, it's interesting you mentioned about the scientists mysteriously dying, because a large percentage of those in recent years have been those involved in biological research who would have known about the artificial mutations or the artificial creation of this virus, which is, of course, swine, bird, and human flu. That's all